Hey everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star. If you're new here or you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. It does help us feed our hungry hippos. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up while you're watching. So today we're going to talk about customer service during Q4. Customer service in Q4 is a little different than the rest of the year because we're dealing with holiday buyers. Now, I've seen this phenomenon when I used to work in retail, and I've seen it in all the years I've worked in reselling. Q4 buyers are different. They are wild. They are often entitled and demanding. They're just different than the rest of the year. So you have to deal with them a little bit differently. I don't do much different because I do have a philosophy all year that I keep all of my emotions out of my business. And that's the number one tip I can give you. The minute you turn your emotions off and you're just being a professional business dealing with these people, it's a lot easier. It's not as stressful. It doesn't cause you anxiety. So we're going to talk about tips on how to do that. If you let your emotions into your business, not just with dealing with buyers, but when returns happen, when disappointing things happen like that, or you can't find an item, you can build up an amount of stress and anxiety from those emotions that just aren't needed. We don't need to be stressing ourselves out unnecessarily. We have enough going on in our lives that we don't need our businesses to be affecting our emotions. I mean, we're all human, so sometimes a little bit will eke in. It takes practice. A lot of it is just almost like turning yourself off or flipping a switch when you're in work mode and having cookie cutter responses ready, which we're going to talk about today. If you act like you are a business, not a person, I think it's easier also because you're creating boundaries, you're creating a wall between you and the buyers. They can be as human as they want and they can try to engage you in arguments and fights and accusations and being entitled and selfish and screaming and yelling. And as long as you have that wall up and you're just acting like a business, you can definitely keep all of that negativity just over here on the other side of the wall and you're not dealing with it. I don't think Amazon or Walmart or JC Penney's takes it personally when buyers reach out to them with complaints. They have responses that they give to everybody. So they can deal with the customer and make them happy or as happy as you can in a lot of instances. That's the difference between a big box store and us small business owners. They're big business. So this is why I do these videos every so often and talk about this with you guys because you can create that persona for yourself. We're also going to talk about the difference between, the royal we and the business persona and being a small business owner because there is kind of a preference there to how you present yourself. So we're going to talk about all of this today and we're going to start with the buyers of Q4 and their offers. They're going to start lowballing you the closer you get to the holidays, the more they're going to do it. A lot of people are struggling right now just to make ends meet and they don't have a lot of discretionary funds. But they also want to have magic at the holidays. They want to create those wonderful gifts for everyone they love and they can't really afford it. And unfortunately, a lot of people will continue to have champagne tastes on a beer budget instead of shopping locally or shopping even online what they can afford or what's within their budget. They still try to purchase things that are outside of the budget or outside of what they can afford. And so that's why they're sending you the lowball offers. Remember, keep your emotions out of your business. Take a step back. It's not personal. They're not telling you your stuff is junk. They're not telling you you have garbage. They're not even telling you the worth or the value of your items is what they're offering you. And they're not telling you your items are priced high enough, especially in Q4. A lowball offer is telling you that a buyer is attempting to shop beyond their means. They are attempting to purchase something outside of their budget that they cannot afford, and they're hoping that you will accept their lowball offer and they can get that item for whomever they choose to gift it to or are wishing to gift it to for that holiday magic time. So do not take it personal. A lowball offers speak volumes of the buyer, but nothing about you or your items. Your items are what they are. Their value is what they are, and you have priced them probably at a comparable market value and what you're comfortable with taking, maybe a little high to give yourself room for offers and sales. When a buyer sends you that lowball offer, they're not telling you you priced it too high or that your item isn't valuable. They're really just trying to shop for items they can't afford. And I think, especially at Christmas time and as we get closer to December, people are hedging their bets on your goodwill. They're hoping that holiday magic and all the goodwill and peace on earth and holidays and Christmas will make you feel some type of way and giving and loving, and you'll take that offer because you want to make somebody's Christmas happen. These lowball offers will often come with messages hoping to increase their chances to get that item for a lower price. Sometimes they'll be nice. Sometimes they'll play on your emotions. Sometimes they'll tell sob stories. Here's the bottom line. The lowest offer you're willing to take on an item is the lowest offer you are willing to take on a specific item. Period. Whether the offer comes with a sob story, a novel, a beg, a plea, I don't care. If you weren't willing to take that low of an offer without the message, then you're not willing to take it with the message. You really just have to ignore them. So when I get offers without messages throughout the year, like the normal times of year when people aren't being crazy, if it's a $20 pair of jeans and they send me an offer of $12, I just counter with 18. If it's Christmas time and I get an offer of $10 or $12 on that same pair of jeans and a story about how they have some illness, this is their last Christmas, they're also taking care of 12 foster kids, 10 dogs, and 3 blind cats, I take that story, I put it over here in the trash where it belongs. I don't care about that story. I don't read it. I don't let it affect me. It does not affect the price of my item. 9 times out of 10, those stories aren't even true. Unfortunately, it is true that people will lie to get things they want, and they will play on others' emotions, and they will hope for your pity so they can get their item for cheap or for free. Even for free, at this time of year, some people get messages, especially on toys and presents for kids. They get these horrifically sad sob stories, and they're asking for these items for free for the kids' Christmas. I don't let it affect me because I'm running a business, not a charity. I do not give my items out for free. I do not take offers lower than I intend to take. I don't let the stories affect me. I'm not a heartless human being, but I'm also a businesswoman. This is our business. This is how Keith and I pay our bills. And 9 times out of 10, those stories aren't even true. So even if I was a bleeding heart and I wanted to help everybody in the world, and I could just give my stuff out for free, I'm giving it to people who are lying. And people do lie. In fact, there exists entire Reddit subs, entire Facebook groups, entire social media accounts who are dedicated to helping folks write these stories. In fact, some are copy pasta. So some are just pre-written about their 12 kids in the cancer ward with the 10 dogs and the 5 blind cats and the hamster that can't eat. And they have the 10 grandmas in the nursing home, and they're also disabled and can't work. And the same story will be used by several people. I'm over-exaggerating for just a slight hint at humor, of course, but I'm also over-exaggerating to show you the ridiculousness of these stories. Honestly, if a person is struggling that bad, they're not going to be online looking through eBay for the most expensive electronics, video games, and toys to give out at Christmas. If they're struggling that bad, they're not online looking for expensive toys and presents so they can send you their story and cry for a lower price. They're probably out getting deals. and not begging online. And if it is true, I don't know what to tell you, because you shouldn't be online begging from people anyway. But 9 times out of 10, they're not even true. They are ridiculous if you think about it. Like, I'm over exaggerating over here, but I've heard some doozies in my time, like real doozies. Like, this cannot even be true. Like, I read a lot of books and I haven't read anything this sad in my life. I've never read fake characters going through this much. So just keep in mind that they're not real. Don't even listen to them or let them bother you, and just counter with whatever you would normally counter with. I treat my counters like all the same. So whether it comes with a message or a reason or an explanation, I just realized I have toothpaste on my shirt. So an offer is an offer, whether it comes with a message, a reason, or an explanation. I'm just going to counter. I'm not going to entertain or engage with the buyer's messages. I'm just going to counter. Now, I do have a cookie cutter response. Sometimes I will send back with my offer that basically says, thank you for your interest in this item. This is the lowest we can go at this time. And that lets them know that you're not here to play games. You're not here to go back and forth. This isn't a garage sale. And no, I don't care about your Hallmark story. The messages, again, just ignore them. Set them aside. You don't need to read them unless you want to read them for entertainment purposes, because again, I'm not saying that because I'm a heartless robot. They're fake. You're also going to probably, if you haven't seen one yet, you're probably not selling in the categories that see these messages, because if you sell in any categories that could possibly be gifts for children, I'm sure you have received a message from a very upset parent at some point or another that you ruined their child's Christmas. And I ignore those too. It's not on me to take care of all the children in the world. I am not Santa Claus. I am not here to take care of everybody else's children. I have to pay my bills. I have to make sure my kids, my hamster, my bills, myself is all taken care of. This is my business. As a parent, it is your responsibility to take care of your kids. And again, it's just them probably, they're either trying to shop for something they really can't afford, or they're just hoping to get a really good deal. Because let's face it, let's say your budget or all you have to spend on Christmas is $100. If you can get 4 $100 presents for $25, because people expect you're a little bit off, or your kid's getting more for Christmas and everybody's happy. But that's not the way the real world works. Could you imagine walking into Walmart and saying, I have a foster home of 15 blind parrots, 10 foster kids, and I'm dying of Lyme disease from the 1830s that I got when I had plague. And I really want this PlayStation for only $10. And if you don't give it to me, you're ruining my kid's Christmas. Could you imagine going into a retail store like that? These people are just out of their minds, wild and ridiculous. You didn't ruin anybody's Christmas. You didn't ruin anybody's Christmas. Don't let anybody make you feel that way. Again, and a lot of times these people don't even have kids. I have seen entire Reddit threads, like I said, or I guess they're called subs. Reddit subs dedicated to people learning how to scam. Not just on eBay, but online in general, Amazon, everywhere. And they teach other buyers how to scam. And some of them are all based on the Christmas time and how to get things cheaper. And there's like literal adults that are video gamers who say, I got a PlayStation or an Xbox for cheaper because I lied and sent them a message that I had a kid and couldn't afford Christmas, or their dad died. They come up with all these sob stories to tell you so they can get the item for cheaper. And sometimes they don't even have kids. It's for them. So I cannot express to you enough to just ignore the messages. Just don't even care. You get an offer, counter back. You get an offer, counter back. You're probably going to get more returns after Christmas than usual. Keith and I refer to this time of year as Returnicus. Everyone's returning everything. So keep that in mind, especially if you sell used clothing and toys and things like that. you're going to see an increase in your returns. And I always recommend just handle them the way you do any other time of year. Again, cookie cutter responses. We're sorry you're not happy with your purchase. We offer returns. We offer free returns. Please open a return, use the return label, whatever the case may be. If you don't offer returns on eBay, I'm here to tell you that yes, you do. You know why? Because if you don't offer returns and somebody wants to return something badly enough, they're going to open an item not as described case on you, and they're going to make up whatever they have to make up to return the item. And don't think people won't. People, in fact, are more likely to lie to return an item than to make up a sad story to get a good offer. But there are there are dishonest people out there. There are people who will do dishonest things when they're backed into a corner because they want to get their way. When someone wants to return something badly enough, they're going to find a way to return it. So if you don't accept returns, yeah, you do. You're going to get false INADs. You're going to get some people who get so upset that they can't return an item that they're going to purposely destroy and ruin it to open the INAD on you. So even if you don't want to do free returns, I do suggest on most items that you do offer returns just to protect yourself and your account, and handle them after Christmas, the post-holiday shopping, return a kiss season. Handle them like you do any other time of year. I don't really engage with buyers when they want to give me excuses or reasons. I do feel most buyers, a high percentage of buyers, always feel like they need to tell you a story or justify why they're returning an item. I don't understand that mentality, but it's there. It exists. And it probably might stem from a time on eBay when they really had to have a reason to return an item, or pre-eBay when people used to shop in stores. I think it stems from maybe that, like people used to actually have to explain why they were returning an item, so they needed a story. And I don't really care about their stories, honestly. Here comes the heartless star. I don't care. I don't care why it didn't fit you. I don't care if you have 10 other shirts by the same exact brand and the same exact size and they all fit differently, and you want to send me 15 pictures of all the shirts laid out next to each other. That drives me insane. Just open a return, say it didn't fit, and send it back. I don't need a novel. I don't need your life story. I don't need 12 pictures of your other shirt. I will never understand people's incessant need to justify a return. It arrived broken. It arrived damaged. It doesn't fit. Send it back. But people do. They write you stories and they send you pictures. And I just don't engage. Like, I'm not rude to my customers. Don't get that idea. I have cookie cutter responses for this reason, because I can just copy and paste. Again, we're sorry your item didn't fit. We're sorry you're not happy with your purchase. We offer returns. Please open a return. Use the label provided to you to return the item. Once we receive it back in the condition it was shipped in, you will receive a refund. I never say full refund. And here's why. Most of our items we offer free returns on, which gives us a protection of returning less money or refunding less money. So as sellers, you can get a seller protection when you do free returns. So if they do a switcheroo on you or damage an item before they send it back, when you go into the refund screen, you can subtract money to recoup your loss. And I do like that protection. So I never say a full refund, because if I just say refund and I get the jeans and you ripped the button off or broke the zipper and that's why you're actually returning them, then I can refund 50% and keep the other to recoup my loss and just explain it. There's like a little section where you can explain it. I highly recommend, if you ever have to utilize that protection and refund less money, block the buyer first so they can't retaliate. And if they do leave negative feedback, you can just easily get it removed because you did a free return. So those are some protections I like with the free returns. Also, there's a cool down period for negative feedback. A lot of people don't know about this. I talked about it. I was recently on the Power Seller Mom podcast with my friend Dana from List Perfectly. And then I was in a listing party that I co-host with my friend Crystal once monthly to help other resellers learn from each other. And I mentioned that. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. If you offer free returns, there's a cool down period. Now, I don't know exactly how long. I think it's a week. It might even be 2 weeks, but there's a specific amount of time or cool down for buyers. When you offer free returns, they cannot leave negative feedback in that time frame. Because you offer free returns, basically you're preempting any issues. You're preemptively saying, I give good customer service. There's no need to leave a negative. Just reach out to me. I'll fix your problem. And so that exists. What it does, most buyers will leave and never come back. Knock on wood. They see that they can't leave that negative feedback. They go away. They're going to forget. I mean, unless they're very angry with you, they're not going to remember to come back to leave that negative. More often than not, though, what they do, they're so upset. They're so emotional in that moment, and they need you to know that they're upset and they're angry with you. They'll go ahead and leave a positive feedback just so they can type out those emotions and get their anger out at you. So they leave those backhanded positives, and I just leave them because it counts towards my 100% positive feedback. So a lot of them will leave those comments. You can get that removed too if it's a backhanded positive, but I just leave them. But they're so upset in the moment sometimes they just cannot wait. They have to tell you through a positive comment how much they hate you. It's great because now they can't leave a negative. So those are some of the reasons I personally do like free returns. But you should have all returns on, period, end of story, because if you don't, now that I'm not saying that blanket for everybody. Everybody's business is different. Clearly, if you're selling 500-pound antique roll top desks, you may not want to have returns on. You have to take into account what you're selling. But I'm sure that most of my viewers that are watching have business models and sell in niches very similar to ours. Use clothing, jewelry, comics, video games, remote controls, shoes, things like that. So let's talk real quick about the cookie cutter responses. I like these so much because of several reasons. Number one, they do absolutely help you keep emotion out of it. Somebody could literally write me and tell me, no wonder you named your store a Hippo Hut because you're a fat pig and you're a fat hippo. And I'll just copy and paste a response to them, and I don't even have to deal with the emotions or the rudeness. But yeah, the cookie cutters do help you just quickly respond to issues, questions, things like that without putting any emotion or thought into it. You really don't need to be engaging buyers who are looking for a fight. When they're looking for a fight, when they're looking to engage you in an argument, don't give it to them. They're not worth your energy. I would rather go take more photographs, list more items, film another video than engage in an argument with a buyer. And you can quickly shut them down with cookie cutter responses. They can argue all they want, and if you write back with, we accept returns, what are they going to do? I don't want to return it. Well, then you have another cookie cutter set up that says per eBay policy, you don't get a refund without return. I mean, you can have these cookie cutters set up for like almost any scenario and just have them ready to go. And I save mine both on my computer and my phone. And this is another reason why I like them. So takes out the emotion, takes out the thought, makes things quicker. But I can also be on the go and still respond to customers in a timely manner. I can't prove it. I don't think anyone can prove it. But it has been said, when you answer your messages on eBay, it's better for your account health. It gets you like boosts in the algorithm. When you have a lot of messages or questions from buyers that you ignore and don't answer, allegedly it does hurt you in the searches. So no one can prove it or not, but a lot of people say it. And it doesn't hurt to have good customer service anyway. It doesn't hurt to answer people's questions. Even if you can't answer their question, you can answer their question, right? So if they want measurements and on a $5 shirt you have on clearance, and you really honestly don't want to go pull a shirt out that you have on clearance for $5 to give them the measurements on something they're probably not going to buy, you can have a cookie cutter response ready with, we store our items in an offsite facility until they're ready for shipping. We cannot supply any more information than we already have in the listing. and off you go. You can answer everybody on the weekends, evenings when you're out. It's really quick and easy. And you can keep rinsing and repeating to buyers. Like I said, you can shut them down real quick because you can keep rinsing and repeating. No return, no refund. And you can keep sending the same copy paste message over and over and over, and they'll get the point. Nothing shuts down an argument more quickly than not engaging in the argument. Okay, so now we're real briefly going to talk about the royal we, presenting yourself as a business versus presenting yourself as an individual small business owner. I think there are pros and cons to both. In fact, this could probably be a topic that I could do an entire video on just in and of itself. Personally, I prefer the royal we. I like to sound professional. I'm not saying when you don't use the royal we, you sound unprofessional. Absolutely not. I have friends who prefer the I, me, mine versus the royal we, ours, business policies kind of responses. And they sound absolutely professional. You're basically just replacing certain words in how you speak with customers. But I feel more like I'm a united front, I guess, when I present this as a business. You can also pass the buck more often. This is another good way to shut down arguments. When a buyer's upset, say they can't get a refund without returning the item, you can immediately blame that on eBay. It's eBay's policy. What are they going to do? Argue with you that it's eBay's policy? When you pass the buck, I'm not saying be irresponsible and don't take responsibility for your own mistakes, okay? If you mix up labels, if you send the wrong item, you obviously have to take responsibility for that, refund the buyer, and make it right. But you can say, oops, someone in the shipping department messed up. We'll get on it right away. We've already sent your refund. We're training a new shipper. We had a mix up in the warehouse. You can always make it sound like it's a business. I think people are more forgiving of businesses creating mistakes than a single person. If you say, I mixed up labels, well, what is wrong with you? Don't you pay attention to what you're doing? But if you say, oh, there was a mix up in the warehouse, we've already sent your refund, go ahead and keep the item, they're more likely to forgive you. I don't know why that is, but it's just this mindset that people have. So you can always pass the buck on to a different department or eBay's policies while still taking responsibility for the mistake and still fixing it and making it right for your customer, but you're not taking the full brunt of their anger or their need to argue with you. I like to sound like a big we business front, but like I said, I have friends who are on the other end of the spectrum. They feel like buyers connect with them on a different level when they know, hey, I'm just a single mom, an empty nester, a college kid here trying to run my own small business and just make a little bit of money on the side. And there's something to be said for that. There's pros and cons for both, like I said. And there is absolutely something to be said for presenting yourself as a small business owner, an entrepreneur, just trying to have a side gig and get on in the world. And I think it also can relate to what you sell as well. If you sell really unique vintage pieces, I would say maybe just being yourself, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, does present better. If you're a consignment person, maybe just being yourself is better. But if you're doing volume bread and butter sales like we are, I think it's better to present as a business. So you may want to weigh that in when you make your decision on how you're going to present yourself. But whether you're presenting yourself as a royal we or as a small business owner, you should have these cookie cutter responses readily available. I always recommend having these. If you don't have them yet, sit down and do them. Do yourself, your future self, and your anxiety and stress levels a huge favor and get them done. So sit down this week, take 10 or 15 minutes, and before you write them out, think about the most common things you're asked. Make a list of those, and then you can write responses out. I took 10 minutes a couple of years ago and wrote all of ours out. I just created a list. This is what people usually ask me. This is what I'm usually responding to. And then I wrote example responses to each one, saved them on my computer, sent them to my phone, and keep them there. I can tell you what some of mine are, and you can kind of get an idea. So they're saved in my phone as cookie cutter responses. Some people often refer to these too as canned responses. So sometimes when I have a question over the weekend or on the evenings that I can't answer until I'm going to go pull the item out, measurements, for example, they ask a question. Maybe I didn't put the material tag in and they want to know the percent of cotton, things like that. I'm not going to get up at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. I'm not going to go down on the weekend. We go down to the first floor once a day to pull for shipping. So I have this one ready to go. So I'm still answering my customers in a timely manner, keeping up with that algorithm. The customer is satisfied. If you don't answer a customer, sometimes they get irritated. Before I tell you about this one real quick, I want to take a side note. A buyer doesn't understand that when they message you at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, that they may not hear from you until Monday morning. They're not taking into account that maybe you have business hours. They want to hear back from you at 10:01 p.m. on Friday night. If they message you at 3 in the morning on a Saturday, they want to hear back from you. I'm not telling you to get up at 3 a.m. and answer them, but you could answer them Sunday morning when you wake up. This is why I love cookie cutter responses. I used to just respond to everybody Monday morning, but I would get some buyers over the weekend who would just get so upset. They would start spamming me and getting angry. And a lot of people are very, 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 very impatient. I've had literally woken up in the mornings. I have had buyers every 15 minutes at 2 to 4 a.m. leave messages because they want their measurements now. They want their questions answered now. They want to know how to open a return right now. Buyers do not understand after hours or weekends, and they can get very impatient and very upset. And I've also had people ask a bunch of questions, not get their answers, buy things anyway, and then have to return them because they didn't fit. What are you going to do? So I have this. Hi, thanks for your interest in our item. Our business doesn't operate on the weekends, but we will answer your question Monday as soon as possible. Thank you, the Hippo Hut team. Or you can have it say, it's after business hours. We'll be back in the warehouse in the morning and we'll be more than happy to answer your question then. Something like that. I have that one saved too. So if someone asks for information on an item and you cannot give it to them or get it for them, or you don't want to, I will pull items for extra photographs, the material tag, measurements, and things like that if they're over a certain price point. 9 times out of 10, when I pull an item for extra information to answer a customer, they're not going to buy it anyway. So I make sure it's of a certain price point to justify pulling it and taking that extra time. So I do mention that our items are off-site, which is sort of true. It's a little white lie. First floor all the way downstairs in a whole different section of the house is kind of off-site. So there's that one. Thanks for your interest in this item. We can't go as low as your offer, but we can meet you in the middle. I send that one with offers all the time. Anytime I get a message, wow, that was loud. Anytime I get a message from a buyer, I don't like the color. I don't like the fit. I have 12 shirts in this brand and this one's different. How come this looks different? Anytime they are unsatisfied for any reason, hi, we offer free returns on all of our items to ensure customer satisfaction. If you are unhappy with your item, simply open a return and use the label eBay will provide to ship it back to us. Once we receive the item back in the same condition we shipped it in, we can issue a refund. Most times I never hear anything again. The reason why is a lot of buyers do still fish for partial refunds or full refunds in a free item. Do not give refunds without a return unless you can 100% prove that it was your fault. For instance, you sent the wrong item, you mixed up labels. Then you can just refund them and let them keep it. But never give a partial, never refund without a return. Force that return, because when they reach out to you and send you a message that they're not happy with their item and you send something like this back to them, they're going to go away most times. Once in a while, you'll get the, but I don't want to return it. And that's when you pass the buck and say it's eBay's policy. Sometimes you'll get a return and sometimes they'll open the return and never send it back. I think those people are kind of like testing you to see if you really want the return or not. So they'll open the return hoping still that you'll send them some money back and just let them keep the item. So that kind of forces that issue. So to sum up this video, Q4 buyers are wild, entitled, sometimes very rude. But buyers all year can be difficult. And even your nice buyers deserve good, professional, thought-out responses from you. And the best way to do that is to write them ahead of time. Write them when you're calm. Write them when you can think straight, when nothing else is going on. Get them all written up and save them somewhere. And they're thought out, they're well written, they're professional. And you can just change a few simple words here and there as you need to maybe individualize some of the messages. Ignore sob stories. They're not real. Don't listen to people. Don't let them guilt trip you into anything. The price you want on an item is the price you want on an item. Whether they send you an offer about the polar ice caps melting and killing all 20 of their gerbils or not, okay? Returns are going to happen, and you're probably going to see an influx after Christmas. Just deal with it. Roll with the punches. Sometimes they won't even send them back. A lot of them are also looking for partial refunds or refunds with a free item, because sometimes people overspend on the holidays and now they're having buyer's remorse. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything I talked about in this video or reselling in general, let me know down below. And don't forget to join my Facebook group, our Facebook group, Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.